Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi everyone. Happy Friday evening,
Yeah,
wherever you are.
yeah, wherever you are, we want to know. Tell us in the comments. As always, your name and where you're writing from. Welcome to this business webinar, this business focus. Today we're doing intermediate networking 2, go with the flow. Before we talk about that, we should introduce ourselves. My name is Sean. You may know me. I have done a few of these business webinars. I am Irish. I have lived and worked in Milan since September in the school on Via Meravigli, and I'm joined by.
Hi guys, I'm Danielle and I'm Australian and I'm one of Sean's colleagues. So I also teach at Meravigli in Milan and I've been a teacher at MIS for about 18 months. And before that, I lived in London for quite a long time. Yes, tell us your name and where you're from. We'd love to hear from you. And also, let's make this webinar as interactive as possible. So please answer our questions by sending us a note and also ask any questions that you have.
Yeah, in these business webinars, there tends to be a lot of phrases, in particular, that students might not know. Don't be afraid to ask us about those kind of words as they come up, as they appear on the screen. So, anyway, today's topic I will briefly introduce. So, going with the flow. So, in this business activity, we are talking about plans, phrases for agreeing and disagreeing, and then basic connectives, which are common words to connect sentences, to express ideas, usually in a written text, but you can also say them in conversation, especially in a business context. Anyway, to go with the flow, how would you define this concept, Danielle?
Yeah, so going with the flow, this is it's just like a common phrase that we use, and it generally means when you're happy to do what others are doing or the general thing that people do without complaining or without arguing. Okay,
Yeah.
so you can use it to describe someone. If someone goes with the flow, they're very relaxed. They don't argue with everyone. They're just happy with what everyone else decides. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think it could be positive, it could be negative in business. Depends. So we'll get started with this first slide, pinpointing success. Do you want to read through this,
Sure.
Danielle?
Right. So decide whether the following scenarios are better for short term or long term success. Number one, positive media attention. Number two, employee training. Three, taking out loans for investment. Four, all-time high quarterly earnings. Five, name recognition. Or six, advertising campaign.
Mm.
So there's maybe some interesting words in here. Maybe. So an all-time high, that means the highest ever.
Mhm. And it says quarterly earnings. So you talk about the quarters of the year. Businesses tend to divide the year in four and talk about the finances in each quarter.
Yeah. An advertising campaign. A campaign can mean lots of things. It's a noun. Okay? And it's usually So in this context, it means for example, when Nike brings out a new set of adverts all around the same theme, that's a campaign. Okay. You also use it in politics. So, for example, when a politician starts gathering, they start organizing support for them to be elected. This is their campaign. So in the US, you talk about the presidential campaign, right? It's when people like, God forbid, Trump and Biden and everyone else, they start getting support for them to be president.
Yeah. They have to campaign, exactly. So in these scenarios, we want your opinion. Are they better for short-term or long-term success? So will they make a difference in the quarter, in the specific period, or in the over years, over the business's entire history? Danielle, do you have any experience in the world of business? Personally, English teaching is my one role so far.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I used to be a journalist, and before that, I was a lawyer. So I sort of was always worked in business contexts.
Yes, offices.
So, well, I think positive media attention, maybe that's useful for short term success. I don't know if it's really that useful long term, maybe. But you guys at home tell us what you think. Okay, send us a message, share your thoughts on these.
Yeah. I guess the media is very focused on the precise moment, and they could have a different opinion next month. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
What about employee training? What do you think, Sean?
I think very much long-term success. If you have um, employees who know what they're doing, it will, over a long period, be good for your business. I think it will encourage employees to stay if they feel that they're being trained.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very important thing, employee training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Taking out loans for investment. Well, if they're well used, then that's a long term strategy. I guess any form of loans should be part of a bigger picture, not just not for some short term success. The fourth one, so the highest ever quarterly earnings. Well, I think that's short term.
Yeah, so it's in the particular period, and it could change the next quarter. That's the trouble in business, isn't it?
Yeah. Name recognition. I think that's important for long term success, so that people
Yeah,
know who you are. Yeah.
it's a very difficult thing to achieve for any brand, any company, I think. It takes years.
And then the last one, an advertising campaign. I think that's very short term because it's
But I
very of the
suppose,
moment.
yeah, I suppose the name recognition is built over years through advertising, but a specific campaign will be of this moment, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. They're definitely related.
Mhm. Yeah, so for the few people watching, please tell us what you think. We want to know.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
mhm. And we will continue on anyway, but feel free to share opinions on previous slides or just your own job also. What is your role? What kind of do you work in business? That kind of thing. So, pieces to the puzzle. With a partner, complete the following sentences based on your personal thoughts. So we have the beginning of a sentence, and then you can finish the sentence based on what you think to be true, what you feel to be true. So employees stay at a company because, why do you think? The company was losing money, so customer satisfaction depends on, and the sales department won a big client and something. So interesting topics, I think.
Yeah, so the first one, guys, tell us what you think. Okay, give us your opinion, but Sean and I can answer them as well. So employees stay at a company. Okay, in my opinion, employees stay at a company because they are happy coming to work every day and they believe in the value of the company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Anna Maria. Thanks for writing to us. Please answer these questions, and whoever else is watching, tell us what you think.
Why do you think employees stay at a company? Yeah, I think the happiness is key. I think the important question is how do you create that sense of employee happiness? I think training comes into it, which we saw before. Also, management is very important for employee satisfaction. Yeah, it's difficult though.
Yeah. Especially nowadays when people move jobs quite like a lot more often than they did in the past. In the past, people stayed in the same job for a long, long time. But nowadays, people move more frequently, it seems.
Anna Maria has quite a cynical point of view because they need to earn money. I suppose
Maybe.
that is the bottom line. Yeah, we all do need a job and earning money, but some of us are lucky enough to have a choice within a field, so we could move to another company if we don't like the one we are in.
Yeah.
It depends.
Number two, the company was losing money, so they what would I say? They cut costs. Okay, we use this phrase quite a bit, to cut costs, to reduce expenses. Okay, it's a common expression. That's a common thing that people do.
Customer satisfaction depends on. I mean, it depends on a lot of things. Again, I don't have a business background. I don't know. I mean, I would think it is the use of the product. Is it a good product? Is it a reliable product? But I think more and more it's about kind of image and the ideas we associate with products more than how durable or reliable they are anymore. I think that has changed a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, Anna Maria, well done. They cut employees. Yeah, or they cut. You can cut employees, or you can say. We often hear this: reduce headcount. Okay, it means to reduce headcount, the number of heads. It's quite a common phrase. I can take the last one. The sales department won a big client and celebrated. Won a big client and performed a lot better the next year.
Yeah.
Something simple. Yeah.
And saw a great quarterly increase, something like this.
Yeah. Well done, guys. Well done, Anna Maria. Excellent.
Yeah. Stay with us. How much patience the customer receives. How much we're talking about customer service, maybe.
Yeah, or maybe how much patience. Yeah. Patient is the adjective, okay, and patience is the noun. So you'd say patience, maybe attention. It's that how much attention the customer receives.
Yeah, I think that would make sense, kind of the importance of customer service and
Yeah,
customer care, big buzzwords.
yeah. Sorry, guys, I just spelled receipts wrong. Yeah,
Yes.
well done.
Okay. Great stuff. Stay with us, Anna Maria. There's lots more questions and opinions we need from you. So now we have a case study, Hopscotch Films in Sydney. Do you want to read through this, Danielle?
Sure. Hopscotch is an award-winning independent film and documentary producer. The company's latest fiscal year has been mediocre, despite making many critically successful films. CEO June Wheaton connects with acclaimed executive producer Christine Simpson. Simpson is considering a future investment in Hopscotch Films, though she has some concerns. All right, so we have a little scenario, some interesting language in there. And at the bottom, we have two questions. What types of companies do investors look for? And what concerns could they have before investing? All right, so two questions, but let's look at the text first. All right, so let's look at the, maybe look at the red words first. Okay, what's a fiscal year? Okay. So fiscal generally refers to money, all right? So when you can say the fiscal year or the tax year. It's usually the same thing. So obviously, I believe in Italy, the tax year is a normal year from January to December. But in every country, it's different. In the UK, it's April to April. In Australia, it's July to July. Okay. So it's the year for companies. Hi, Marcello. Welcome.
Hi, one of our students.
So yeah, it's fiscal year.
Then we have acclaimed. This is specific to the film context or any kind of performance or art, where acclaimed means that critics really strongly appreciate something. It is acclaimed by critics, you would often say. It is really enthusiastically received, positively received, acclaimed. And so in this context, it's a particular producer who is acclaimed. The critics think Christine Simpson really knows what she's doing.
Yeah. Acclaimed is a word, usually you write it. Maybe you don't say it. It's quite formal. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look at some other words. So let's look at, I thought maybe mediocre. All right, mediocre is an adjective and it means average or a bit below average. Okay. The idea is it's not very good. Okay. So maybe someone is so what's this example? Yeah, so it's fiscal year has been mediocre. So its finances over the year have not been good. Okay.
After that, we have our first example of a connective. We'll be looking at this in more detail. Despite. And here we have despite creating contrast between two situations, 2 points. So there's a contrast between the mediocre fiscal year and the many critically successful films. Something about these two facts is incompatible, so we use a connective that expresses a contrast. Just a little introduction to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a great point, Danielle just put in the chat. Despite, in spite of, exactly the same, no difference.
And then we have another connective underlined, which is though. So let me move this. Again, it's about when you introduce, maybe when you introduce an exception, or again to show the difference between the two clauses. Okay, so when you're you say something, but something else, right? It's to emphasize the distinction between two things. Another way to say it, not always, but sometimes, is although. Right? I'm sure some of you know that word, maybe, although. Okay. Although it's beautiful weather at the moment, we can't go out.
Yeah.
Okay. Anna Maria's got a question. It's a typical building of English sentences. Yeah, it's a typical, despite, though, these connectives, yeah, we use them a lot.
Yeah, they tend to kind of elevate your language a bit from just being conversational to expressing points and concepts and making arguments.
We got despite can be changed by even though. Not too sure I understand. I'm not too sure I understand, Marcello. Sean, do you understand?
Maybe it's a question. I mean, the meaning is similar with contrasts. One thing I will say is here, let's look at the sentence with despite. The company's latest fiscal year has been mediocre, even though they made many critically successful films. So, despite with the gerund, and even though with a different form. So,
Yeah.
you just be careful around that kind of thing. But really, the function is, I would say, the same.
Yeah, you're right. It's about contrast for both of them.
So the question at the bottom, what types of companies do investors look for? What concerns could they have before investing? So I think the concerns here are that they had a mediocre fiscal year. What other concerns could companies have before investing?
Sorry, Marcello, I've seen your question. We'll talk about these questions first, then we'll address it. So I think they look for a company with a long-term strategy, yeah, and maybe the quality of their product to make sure it has value. Okay. Maybe they look at the senior staff, maybe the CEO, the management team, to make sure they like them, they can work with them, and they trust them. But you guys, let us know what you think. Okay, tell us. So Marcello, is the word despite changed by even though? You don't use despite and even though in the same sentence. You wouldn't use both of them. You use one or the other. Okay. Yeah, you don't use them together. They're alternatives.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope I've answered your question. If not, let us know, or maybe write a sentence as an example, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah. So we have a little sample conversation between June Wheaton and Christine Simpson, who are trying to get the investment for Hopscotch Films. So I'll be June and you can be Christine. So thanks for meeting with me despite your busy schedule.
That's true, although today I have some free time. So, why should I invest in Hopscotch in spite of your recent problems?
Although we have had issues with earnings, our reviews are at an all-time high.
I agree, though reviews don't mean earnings.
In spite of having financial difficulties, the press we generated will bring future name recognition.
I have my doubts, though I am willing to take the risk. Okay. Before we go on, I want to let's just share Anna Maria's perfect sentence. Even though the company produces successful films, the audience doesn't appreciate them. That is perfect. Well done. You've got audience is singular, so audience does not. Excellent. Mhm.
Yeah, that seems to be the problem for this company.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's why Christine is hesitant to invest. So we need to find examples of words that connect to ideas. So can you guys find the connectives here? There's ones that we looked at, ones that we mentioned. Look for the connectives.
Some of them we've already, as Sean said, already mentioned. Okay. Or if there are other words in there you don't understand, let us know.
What kind of journalism did you work in, Danielle?
I was a financial journalist, so I wrote about banking
Okay,
and finance generally.
not film reviews.
No, unfortunately not.
But then you know a lot about finance and companies.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's yeah. No, I didn't do film reviews. I always thought that would be a nice, I don't know, it's like a bit glamorous, isn't it? I imagine going to lots of opening nights and meeting celebrities and tapping away at your laptop, writing a review in the evening. I'm sure it's not like that. Okay, guys. Anna Maria's got some answers. I am keen on despite, in spite of, though, even though.
Mhm.
Yeah, well done. There's one more. Yeah, I think there's maybe another one in there.
Mhm. So we have despite in the first sentence. In the second sentence, what connective is being used?
Yeah. Mm, okay, Anna Maria, yeah, you're right. So in English, you can express two contrasting points of view in the same sentence. Yeah, that's what connectives do. You do it in Italian as well. It works in Italian. I think in this, in the next sentence is probably one of the most common connectives. For me, anyway, I use it all the time.
Yeah, I think we'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Although. So it's the same as though. I don't know why we add the all, but it's really common, although.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you had the other ones, in spite of, although again, though, in spite of, and though. Mhm.
Machado said so. No, so isn't it. I guess it's it's a connective, but not to show contrast. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. I guess it is, yeah, it's an example of a word that connects two ideas because it shows the result of something. A happened, so B happened.
Yeah. But these ones are the ones of contrast, which we're focusing on today.
Yeah.
So we have kind of them laid out grammatically here, which might be helpful. So use connectives to express two contrasting ideas. Despite plus gerund or noun, in spite of plus gerund or noun. Two examples. Despite having a great product, their sales remained low. They lost money in spite of their new ad campaign. These two have the same meanings, it's different forms for the same meaning. Although plus subject plus verb, though plus subject plus verb. We continued the meeting although it was late. Though it was negative, we received media attention. So we saw this earlier that this is a difference between despite, in spite of, and although and though. Subject and verb with although and though. So we want you to discuss situations and talk about contrasting ideas and contrasting situations. So I think we'll put them all out and you can pick one or two to create a sentence about. Danielle, do you want to read through these?
So the first one, you or a company succeeded despite difficult conditions. Number two, you or a company failed in spite of many positive influences. Okay, so they're two opposites. In red, we need to rework the following situations. So John managed to sell an obsolete product. They finished a chaotic project on time. The low budget movie won many awards. Jess made money on a risky investment. Okay, maybe we should make sure everyone understands these words. So I think maybe obsolete. Do you know what obsolete means?
I would say no longer useful or relevant.
So, yeah, something that's obsolete. I guess one of the things with Google being the search engine that everyone uses, Yahoo, Bing, these old search engines are obsolete. Okay, you don't need them.
We use it a lot for technology or products.
Yeah. I think low budget is an adjective. It's an adjective. It means something made with a small budget, with a small amount of money. Okay, Anna Maria, for obsolete, not updated. Yeah, that's related. Yeah, you can say that, but it means it's not useful at all. So maybe, yeah, it's not relevant for most people. I think the rest of them should be clear. Okay, so you know, manage in this context, John managed to. So manage, you know, it's a verb, and usually it means to organize something. You manage people, you manage a restaurant, but it can also mean can. Okay, so John sold an obsolete product, but it means to do something maybe in a situation, an adverse situation, or in a difficult. Okay, it indicates that maybe it took a bit of effort. Okay. maybe an example. Before lockdown, I went for a run and I hurt my leg, but I managed to get home. I got a tram home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, in spite of hurting her leg, Danielle managed to get a tram home.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, guys, let us know any examples you have using these situations.
So Anna Maria. John managed to sell an obsolete product even though his team gave him different advice. Yeah, very good example.
Yep.
He went on his own instinct. Excellent.
Any others?
Mm-hmm.
Any other examples? Maybe we can make an example. I will choose in red, the third one. So the low budget movie won many awards. So although the film was cheap to produce, it won many awards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Maria
Anna
has
Maria
another.
has more.
Yeah.
So, despite the delay, they finished a chaotic project on time. Very good. She used despite at the beginning here, so she
Mm-hmm.
changed it a bit, which is absolutely correct. Very good.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we go on, maybe?
Yeah. So we have some. This is the one. Is this a different one or the one from earlier?
I
No,
think,
it's a new one.
yeah, it's a new one. Sometimes it's
Okay.
hard to tell.
Well, we'll read it out. We can reprise our roles. So I'm June Wheaton again. Thanks for meeting with me despite your busy schedule.
That's true. Although today I have some free time. So why should I invest in Hopscotch in spite of your recent problems?
It is the
Oh,
same
it is the
one.
same. Okay.
Okay, so find examples of phrases to express opinion. So we were talking about connectives earlier. Now we have to find phrases for opinion in the same text.
This is a very general question. So there's lots of different ways to express your opinion, but we're looking for sort of very common words that you connect together when you give your opinion. Maybe as a summary of your opinion.
Yeah, so where are they expressing how they feel about the situation personally?
Sean, you seem like someone that goes with the flow a lot.
Yeah, I definitely do. I'm not big on conflict, and I'm quite adaptable. I said earlier that I think it's both a good and bad quality in business. What do you think? Is it good or bad?
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation. I think generally someone that goes with the flow, I think generally it's a good thing. It means they don't create problems unnecessarily. But I guess if there's a situation, in business where a company isn't doing the right thing, which does
Mhm.
happen, and some of its staff they go with the flow, then that's a bad thing. They should say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a situation like that at work before, in my previous job, where my
Oh.
boss, our head boss, did something that wasn't really okay, and the next boss down, he didn't say anything when he should have done.
Oh.
So I feel
So
like,
you did.
no, I didn't. I heard about it
Okay.
afterwards. I also wasn't senior enough to do anything.
Yeah, yeah. It's the
Um,
problem, isn't it?
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Maybe
So
we should
maybe
show
we'll give
them.
them,
Yeah.
time is ticking on. So we have that's true. So Christine thinks that is true. That's correct. Um, I agree. I agree. I don't, I'm not, it's different to Italian. A lot of people, a lot of students would say I am agree. No, it's I agree. It's a verb. And I have my doubts. This is, I'm not certain. I have reasons to be
Yeah.
unsure. So Marcella has something from the previous slides, John.
I can't remember the phrase.
Dealt with a sail very well. Yeah, first of all, it would be you're talking about the past. It's something that John did in the past. So dealt with,
A sail, maybe?
yeah, the noun is a sail. The verb is to sail. Very well, despite our obsolete product. Yeah, despite absolutely perfectly used anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, correct.
Very good. Yeah, I think that's, yeah, well done. Exactly.
Mhm. Great work. So now we have our opinion phrases. I agree, I disagree, that's not true, I have my doubts. So express your opinion on the following topics. Up-to-date technology is too expensive. The smaller the staff, the better. The customer is always right. You need to spend money to make money. So things that are commonly said, do you agree or disagree? Tell us in the comments, and I guess we will discuss them ourselves. Do
Yeah.
you think up-to-date technology is too expensive, Danielle?
I it depends on the company, maybe. But yes, I guess often it is. I know sometimes
Yeah.
companies won't buy the most up-to-date technology for that reason. Maybe they'll get something a little less advanced.
Yeah.
Also, for me personally, I never get the latest phone. I always get a
Yeah.
few models back because I don't want to spend thousands of euros on a phone.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I think the most expensive technology is just you're paying for how flashy it is. It doesn't really work any better than the cheaper, less flashy version. I suppose it depends on how much you're using technology in your work. You know, people who are graphic designers and things like that, they need to have the best of the best to keep up with everyone. But I think in our school and things like that, we don't need the most recent model necessarily,
Yeah,
as
I
long as it can
agree.
turn on.
Marcello, tell us what you think. Number two, I'm not too sure. The smaller the staff, the better. I have my doubts. It's not
Mm.
always true.
Have you worked in big and small companies?
Actually, I've only worked in big companies.
Okay.
I haven't worked in a small company. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Sean?
I mean, again, I think a lot of this depends on what your business is. I think for maybe a customer service, I always find the customer service is nicer in smaller businesses with fewer people who can, it's the same people every time. You can build a rapport with them. In that context, it's good. If you're trying to kind of, in a more dynamic business, you've got to keep up with trends. I think a lot of perspectives is helpful. So I think it just depends on the context. I agree and disagree.
The customer is always right. Yeah, this is interesting. So I guess they have to be, because if you're going to argue with them, you have to.
I disagree. I have worked a little bit in retail, and it
Yeah.
was the bane of my existence. I could not abide this attitude.
I used to work in retail as well. I know it's incredibly frustrating. I definitely didn't use this philosophy all the time.
No,
um,
you can't let the customer walk all over you.
no, no. Yeah, there
Mm,
are limits. What about the last one? You need to spend money to make money. I agree on this. I think
mhm.
you need to spend at least a small amount of money to make money.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the case. Though when people get to borrowing money to try and start a business, it gets a bit difficult and precarious sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
But it's the way it works. I think it's definitely true. Hmm. What do you
Okay.
think, Marcello and
Yeah,
Anna
tell us.
Maria?
So
Hmm.
maybe I think the next slide is a case study. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll maybe look at one of these just for vocab and an example situation.
Mm.
Danielle, do you want to pick one?
Maybe hospitality, because that's the
Yeah.
most general. Yeah.
So, Shelby retreats. So
Yeah.
I'll read the first paragraph. Shelby retreats are meeting with a potential investor. Use the following information to prepare a company profile for Shelby. Once you have a good idea of the company, sit down with a very cautious investor and discuss. So the year in review, Danielle?
The Shelby Year in Review opened 2 new hotels in Jamaica and Cuba, a 10% increase in profits when compared to the previous year, mostly excellent and fabulous reviews on booking websites, potential deal with major rental car agency. Okay. And then we've got all the phrases on the right-hand side. Before we do that, though, Marcello, you've written a perfect phrase. So I agree. You corrected yourself in the next message. To keep up with technology is expensive and sometimes unnecessary. It's perfect. Yeah. Excellent use of the phrase keep up with. It's obviously
Mm,
a difficult phrasal verb to use, but you used it perfectly.
yeah, great work, great work.
Um,
So we have this situation with Shelby retreats. Is there any vocabulary here, maybe? Cautious investor. Cautious is maybe one. So cautious, you're not very certain, very apprehensive. You're not going to invest without a lot of convincing, I would say, in this particular, to be careful, to be
yeah,
cautious.
that's right. Yeah, you're careful. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. Um, maybe the rest of it's okay. Um, yeah, I think the rest of it might be okay. We use the word major at the end. Pardon me.
That's
A,
okay.
a major to mean like a very big or important.
Mm, yeah.
One of the most important rental car agencies.
Mhm. So if you're trying to sway this cautious investor, you've got to emphasize the positive things this year, the increase in profits, the good reviews, and the potential deal. Hmm.
Yeah. Um, so we need to prepare a company profile. Um, it's difficult to. This all seems to be positive things here, though.
Yeah, but I
There's no.
guess it's just hospitality is always risky, you know.
Yeah, that's true. So
So,
yeah, despite the industry's um, vulnerability, generally, um, we have opened 2 new hotels. We've increased profits every year, and we get very good reviews.
Yeah.
It's a good
So yeah,
example. Yeah,
it's a good way to speak dynamically and convince someone to use connectives like that to create contrasts.
exactly.
Yeah, so we're up for time.
Yes.
Thank you to Marcello and Julia. You did very well. You seem to understand the connectives and have some good ideas about business. Anything to add, Danielle?
No, I don't think so. Thanks very much for participating, guys. And yeah, have a nice weekend. We'll see you next time.
Yes, see you next time.
Okay, see you
Bye.
guys. Bye.